Hi, everybody. It's Irene here from the Keller Williams Portfolio Team Brokerage in Toronto. We're very honored today to be hosting Tonya Dorsey from Puerto Vallarta, who will be speaking to us on investing in that part of Mexico. And Tonya and I were just chatting before we started the session about our little history together, and it's been short but very positive, and she's a wealth of knowledge, has been living in that part of Mexico for over 30 years. So what I'm going to do, Tonya, is I'm going to give you the floor and let you take over. And as people jump on, we'll just let them jump into the Zoom room and keep you going.
Sure. Perfect. Right. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that. Okay, so let me share my screen here. One moment. Okay, so here we go.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'm going to do a presentation today on Puerto Vallarta and Riviera Nayarit. For those of you that don't know, well, let's see, let's go on one moment here. I'm trying to get this. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so as you can see, Mexico is a burst of color. Sorry, I'm on somebody else's computer, so it's going to take me a moment to. Okay, so vacation resorts, second homes, and opportunities in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is the iconic church that is in our downtown, right behind the Malecon. So here's where Puerto Vallarta is located, right where the red line is. You can see that we are south of Mazatlan, and we're across and below from Cabo San Lucas. And all the way on the right blue arrow is where Cancun is. So Puerto Vallarta is in a bay called the Bahía de Banderas, which is the Bay of Flags. And what's coming to the Bay of Flags? Well, this is Vedanta World. Vedanta World is by Vedanta Resorts. And we are getting this amazing theme park that is a Disney style park, but kind of modeled after ¿cómo se llama? ¿El Circo?
Circo du Soleil.
Cirque du Soleil. We also have 6 different golf courses in different areas. The one that's shown in the picture that's right there on the ocean is in Punta Mita, which is our northern area. But we have, Norman signature golf courses. We have architect Joe Finger. We have Tom Weishoff. We have Robert Van Haag. There's a lot of different golf courses here, and we get a lot of golf tourism.
Before you, sorry, Tonya, before you just leave that part, I think, for some people, they may not be as familiar with that part of Mexico. Having spent a lot of time in Cabo, like I know Susan Higgins has, maybe you could talk about the differences in the types of water that are around those 2 different parts of Mexico, because it is very different.
Yes. Okay. Well, in Puerto Vallarta, we are actually on the Pacific coast. So when you go to the points, which is Punta Mita, and that's the actually furthest point north of the bay, you will see very crystal white, clear water. And that's also on the south side in Mismaloya area, in Garza Blanca area. You'll see very clear, transparent turquoise water and white sand. The middle of the bay, that's not the case. It's more, like the green of the Pacific Ocean that you'll see. But right here, this is actually a photo of Puerto Vallarta, and we have great big game fishing. We have, whenever it's warm is when our fishing season is. So we have, black and blue marlin, sailfish, yellowfin tuna, dorado, mahi-mahi, red slapper. Of course, we ask to catch and release whenever possible if you're not going to eat it, but we really do get great fishing times. You have to go out about 36 to 50 miles. But there's plenty of boats direct, excuse me. And when it's cold, this is when we have our whale watching season. So normally it'll start as soon as it gets a little bit fresh here, but it's pretty much impossible to go out whale watching and not see whales and dolphins. If you're out on the water, it's a spectacular show. And I don't think that there has ever been a day that I've gone out and not seen whales. And most of the times from the resorts and the restaurants on the coast, just from where you're sitting, you're eating, or even the rooms, you get the show of the whales. Excuse me.
Tonya, when you say when it gets cold, what do you consider cold and when does that usually happen?
Okay, our cold and your cold are two different things.
Different things.
Like my cold is kind of unrealistic. So basically, starting in the end of November, December, January, February, March, through those dates, maybe into April is when we're going to have our whale watching season. But cold for me and cold for you are two different things. I will be wearing a sweater and everybody else on vacation from Canada and the USA will be in their bathing suits on the beach. So, yes. And then this is the south side of town, which is called the Romantic Zone. This is a very popular area. And, oh, okay, so about 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 Celsius is what it gets in what we call our cold weather. Thank you for that. So Los Muertos in the south side, this is the area a little bit further south is where you're going to see the really crystal clear blue waters. And I mean, it's transparent like you do see in, you know, Cancun. So, but Los Muertos area, this is a very popular area for the LGBT community. And we have a really great community here. Everyone is accepted and everybody is included. And this is the area that most people really, you know, choose to go to. So why do people come to Vallarta? What are the things to do here? So, I mean, we have our ATVs, our zip line, waterfalls, parasailing, everything that you can think of to do in resorts, we pretty much have it. We have great theaters, we have tequila tasting, flea markets and shopping. A lot of people love to come here and they want to know, like, what do the locals do? So there's tours like taco tours, where they'll take you around to really all the local places. Lots of art galleries here also. And I'll actually share this presentation. If anybody would like a copy of it, you're more than welcome. I'll give it to you and you can share it with whoever wants. So I'm not going through and reading each thing, but we really do have a beautiful community here. When you go downtown on the Malecon, which is our boardwalk, and you're just walking all that area, you know, there's like people that'll dress up and they'll be like covered in sand and you'll think that they're actually sand statues until they start moving. So there's a lot of really fun things to do. A lot of activities on our main Malecon or boardwalk. Let's see. And this is just one of the many festivals that we have. One of my favorite things about Mexico is all the colors. Everything is always so bright and cheery and beautiful. And as you can see in the bottom right picture, these are art that's done by the Huichol Indians. And these are actually little teeny beads. They put it all together and make these beautiful art pieces that you can, again, buy. These are, what I love about Vallarta is there's a lot of different areas, and depending on, you know, what type of day that you want to spend, you can take a day trip. My husband and I, we go with the family many, many times that we'll just go away just for the day, you know, and depending if you go north or you go south, we have amazing botanical gardens. We have a place called El Eden, which is where the Predator movie was filmed. Lots of waterfalls, but the background photo here on this slide is the south side of town that I was talking about that has the really beautiful turquoise waters. But then you can go, you know, just 2 hours from here where you go to San Sebastian, which is up in the mountains. And it's as if you've been taken back in time, you know, 50 years. And it's just really a lot of great things to do. You don't have to just stay at the resort. You know, if you go south to Boca de Tomitlan, you can take, you know, like small little panga boats, and you can go over to Quemixto. You can go over to, you know, as soon as you get off the boat, they're going to give you an iguana if you want to take a picture of it. And then, you know, they'll have the homemade raicilla and tequilas made there. The seafood is freshly caught that day that you'll be served. And you can even go, you know, even hiking up or taking horses up to the waterfalls. But it's really just a beautiful day. And no matter which of these places that you choose, Like Sayulita has more like a hippie vibe, San Pancho also. But if you go to Conchas Chinas, this is what is like the Beverly Hills of Puerto Vallarta, where when you're driving on the main road, it looks like the homes are small because what you're really seeing is where they drive into their garage. But these homes are actually built into the side of the mountain and they're hanging over the water. So when you take the same tour, but you take it by boat instead of taking it on the road, you really see the amazing homes that are there. It's quite impressive. So this, I think, is some really good information. And the cost of living and the quality of life are really reasons that foreigners, and Mexicans, of course, invest here. Most neighborhoods have a fresh market that you can walk to. And this is one of the main things that I hear. We want to eat local and we want to, go to local places instead of going to Walmart or, the big grocery stores. So to be able to, leave your condo and walk a couple blocks, and then you get your fresh produce, you get your fresh cheese, meats that are coming from a local farm right away, the seafood that was just caught, that day or the day before. And you can get a full bag of produce for about $8 and a kilo of shrimp for about $15, which is about 2.2 pounds. So that's, quite amazing. And it really makes your dollar stretch. There's a lot of things that, as far as real estate, it's not inexpensive in Mexico anymore if you're in a tourist town like I am. But if you compare it to other tourist towns like Hawaii, then yes, absolutely. For example, if you need a simple doctor visit, you can go to the pharmacy. There's usually a doctor right next door, and they don't charge as long as you're going to fill the prescription at that pharmacy. And that's like a walk-in. And if you want to go for a top bilingual doctor, it's about $30 American, and you can make your appointment pretty much for the same day. You'll never be rushed, and you can ask all the questions that you want, which I know in Canada, you guys have a great medical system, but for people coming from other parts of the world, that's really we do have a lot of medical tourism here because people just are waiting forever maybe in the US, and or they just don't have the quality care, or they feel like they're just a number back home. We're here.
Yeah.
Your doctor will actually give you a hug, at the end.
And, as everybody gets older, that's always on the forefront of everyone's mind is, what is my Medicare going to be like?
That's right.
So, it's important all the time, but especially as we get on in our years, that's a huge consideration.
Well, a lot of people come here and, immediately they're going to the dentist as soon as they arrive, or they're going to have their checkups, and then the rest of their vacation, they'll keep that for, enjoyment time. But I know a lot of people actually do come here to do medical procedures because they pay for the whole vacation, and they're really well taken care of with a private nurse. And then they go home and, they've had a vacation on top of it. Again, a vet cost is, about $12.50. Dog grooming is about that size also. I was shocked when one of my clients told me that they spent $60 to have their dog's haircut, a dog grooming. I just was shocked at that. So there's a lot of things that we take for advantage here that we don't, I don't know that what it is in someplace else. Another thing is the fresh waters, which is a huge thing in Mexico. When I say fresh water, it means that it's made by either fruit or flowers. There's one that's called Jamaica water. Have you ever tried that, Irene?
No, I've never even heard of it.
Okay, it starts with a J. If you spell it phonetically, it's Jamaica, but you say Jamaica, and it's.
Oh yes, it's like it's almost like a root.
That's right.
Sorry, I wasn't thinking of the J. Yes, it's it's very, very watery and crisp.
That's right. So this is a big thing in Mexico. I mean, pretty much I have a picture of Jamaica in my refrigerator at all times. They also make rice water, or my daughter's favorite is passion fruit. This is a big thing. There's stands on the side of the road, and you'll see a bunch of coolers, and you go in and how much do they charge you for a liter? 25 pesos?
30 pesos.
So 30 pesos. So maybe like $1.50 American.
No more than.
Now, property tax, this is huge. I mean, this is a huge reason. So when people are investing in properties and they're using them for, maybe Airbnb opportunities and all of that, in this year, a $550 home paid $316 for property tax for the year. So that's a huge thing on how much you get to keep for profit when you're thinking about your expenses. Also, to have somebody come and clean your condo is about $30, and that's going to be the turnover of doing the sheets and the towels and all of that. So, a $30 turnover on a rental property is, really great.
Quick question.
Yes.
Sorry, is the house, is it a 1% or it sounds like it's less than 1%? No, sorry, 0.1% is what I've heard in past, but 316 is less than 0.1%.
Well, the thing is that it doesn't go on actual property value. The reality of property value, it goes on what the government says the property is valued at, and it never ever is even close to what the properties are actually selling for. So maybe $550,000 home would be government classified as like a $200,000 home. But
Got it.
That's why it's so inexpensive, because it really doesn't, it just doesn't even make sense, but that's how they do it. So why not?
So
Okay,
Tonya,
thanks.
oh,
Yes.
sorry, Daphne, are you still talking? No, she's done. Since you've mentioned Airbnb here, is that something you're going to be covering a little bit later? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of people want to get residency here. So you can get residency, which is temporary or permanent it's pretty simple. I mean, it's really, when I think of the process reversed, like if I were to get residency in Canada or in the US, I mean, for somebody to get residency in Mexico, as long as you can prove that you take care of yourself financially, it's quite easy. And you don't need to be a resident or even physically to purchase. I've actually have clients that will purchase from a video that I've done, or, a live video, a walkthrough, and we'll actually open up the cabinets. We'll look behind the doors. We'll, check everything. And I've actually had people purchase, rent it out, and sell during the pandemic, and have never come to Mexico. So it's always an option. Okay, another thing is, ready for this? We still get our gas pumped for us here. If you go to the gas station here, they'll actually pump your gas for you. And to get your car washed inside and out is about $7. So here's the big question. Can a foreigner own property in Mexico? And the simple answer is yes. So the way that this works is we have something called the restricted zone. The restricted zone is 50 kilometers of the ocean or 100 kilometers from the border. And the reason why is this is the area that they don't want somebody else to purchase and then cede it to another country. Because I mean, if you think about it, Texas and California were actually part of Mexico originally. So this is why it's only on the border. If somebody from another country were to purchase 51 kilometers in from the ocean, then they would purchase the exact same way through a deed, exactly the same way as a Mexican. But if it's within the restricted zone, then they need to purchase through a bank trust. So this is kind of like a living trust that you guys have back home. And how does that work? Well, it's pretty much the same thing as owning, but in Mexico, instead of going from A to B, we like to go from A, we do a little circle, and then we go to B. We never do things exactly straight on. So what does that mean? Your property will be held for you in trust by the bank, but it is not an asset of the bank. The bank cannot do anything that you have not been instructed for them to do through a notary. Now, a notary in Mexico is not a notary like you guys are used to back home. It's like a super powered lawyer that also has accounting training. So there's about one for every 30,000 inhabitants, and they're appointed by the governor, and they're usually appointed for life. I mean, it's a really big deal to have a notary. So when you have a property in trust, you can rent it, you can sell it, you can loan it, you can leave it to your children or leave it to somebody. You can get a loan on it. You can do anything that you want as long as you do it through a notary that it's signed. So there's never actually been a case of somebody losing a property because it's in a bank trust. Let's say that bank were to fold for some reason, then it would just go to the next bank because it's federally protected and it's not an asset. So there's no way for you to lose it because it's through a bank trust, because people are always asking that question. So the bank trust is good for about 50 years, and then you renew it for another 50 years. Although we do believe that this will probably go away. There won't really be trust in the future, but you never know. At this time, after 50 years, you can renew it. And let's say that you want to buy a property. The first thing that I'm going to ask is, where's the bank trust? Because there's banks that make this very easy, and there's other ones that take a little bit, longer to do the trade. But let's say that it's in a bank trust and they've used 5 years of it. So what we'll do is we'll just transfer that trust to the new owners. And a lot of times Mexicans choose to use a trust even though they don't have to, because in that same trust, you name your heirs and there's no inheritance tax. So it will supersede any will that is made. So it makes it very, very simple. It's very seamless. It's just like, this is my information. This is my documentation. I'm proving who I am with my passport or another official ID. And this property was left to me. And here's the death certificate. I mean, it's really very, very seamless. So a lot of Mexicans choose to use a trust, especially if they have more than one children. Maybe they have 3 houses and 3 kids, and they'll leave one specifically to each child.
Sounds very civilized.
Yes, it's a very easy process. So here's where we are right now. This is our office. I have to say our offices are pretty amazing. We are on the entire 5th floor of a plaza. I'm in the luxury office, as you can see right now. And our offices are kind of Google style. And we just opened our new office, which is right outside of Nueva Vallarta on the main highway. And we have a 150-person auditorium there. So Keller Williams in Puerto Vallarta is pretty strong. So this is part of Keller Williams in Puerto Vallarta. These are all of the companies that make up Puerto Vallarta. We have over 3,000 units sold, and we have 3,000 in development, more or less. And you can see all of the places that we are in Mexico. We opened officially in Mexico. We opened officially here in 2019. And in 2021, we closed 1,100 transactions here in our office. And we are the #1 office in Mexico.
That's a lot of offices in one country. Good for you.
Yes, we have 31 market centers here, and we've been open since 2014 in Mexico. So how do I purchase in Mexico? Well, there's different options. You can actually get a loan in Mexico without ever having a Mexican credit check and without being a resident, believe it or not. I know it's crazy, but it is an option. So there's different loans. I'll touch this really quick. One of them is called Tu Casa Express, and that loan starts out at 2%, and it goes up 0.3% every 6 months in January and July. So if you were to get the loan today, it would be 2%, and then in January, it would be 2.6, and then July, 2.9. That's the good news. The bad news is it never, ever stops going up. Ooh. So there's no prepayment penalty, but this is a loan that you want to get for short term. My client was the first person in the country to get this loan, and it was because they had their money in a 401k, and it was going to take them 2 years, and it really was to their benefit. But you do need about 42% down. Our closing costs here are approximately 6% in Mexico, and they are paid by the buyer. It's unheard of here that a seller would pay the closing costs.
That's like us in Canada. Well, at least in Ontario. I don't know the rest of Canada, but
okay,
we never have sellers pay closing costs.
Okay,
and
very
for
good.
us in Ontario and Toronto, especially in Toronto, we have 2 property taxes. So we have the provincial one from Ontario and then the municipal one from Toronto, and a lot. It's a lot. Like if you're looking at $1 million property, it's about $33,000.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to
So
pay that on closing.
I guess I lumped that together because I'm also speaking about the permission from the Department of Exteriors, creating your trust. So 6% is really what it would be for a foreigner closing, but including all of that, because there is a fee for doing all of those, making the trust. The good thing is that we take care of that and we make it seamless. The only thing in Mexico is that we ask you to sign a bunch of papers, all in blue ink. And of course, they have to be 3 originals of everything. But other than that, I pretty much make it seamless. My specialty is that you just don't know all of the things that happen behind the scenes. I'm sure you know about that there. So let's get an idea of what it would be for rental costs in this in the area. Okay, so here's one here. This is Signature by Pinnacle. It's in the romantic zone, which is really a very popular area. And this is pretty much now, everything for 2023 is already booked. I mean, I have clients that beg me for rentals and I just don't do rentals because I can't find them. I have a client that just closed last month with Tonya's team, and we are helping them right now by putting it on, they're not tech savvy. So I said, okay, I'll publish it for you in a couple pages, and then I'll just pass you the client and you can take it from there. I'll give you an idea of how to get it done. But for example, right here in November through February, it's for a $619,000 investment. They're charging $1,680 for the week for rental. And if it's in, the super high season, which is, Christmas and New Year's, it's $2,380 for the week. And over here, you can see is a Mapas. This is a South Shore area, and it has a nice view. These are very high up in the mountains, so walking up is a little bit of a challenge. But this one here is at $460, renting at $200 a night. There's also a place called Blue Horizon, which is on the South Shore, which I actually have an appointment at tomorrow and the next day. But they actually will take care of everything for you. They will pay all your bills for you. They will take care of the renters, checking them in and checking them out. And then you choose when you want to rent it and when you don't. So you can block off, different dates and say, on these days I don't want to rent it, and on these days I do. Here's another one in Bucerias, which was $197,000 and it's about 40 units, and the HOA is 2,500 pesos, which would be about $125 a month, which I think is a great deal. I actually have a client that invested about $250,000 with Tonya's team last month, and their place is renting out at about $2,500 a month now. They prefer to do monthly rentals. So this
Bucerias is where we go for all our dinners. It's such great food there.
Absolutely. There's a lot of palapas on the beach where you can get fresh seafood and, walk around town to the different shops. It just makes it enjoyable. Here's another one here with a $300,000 investment, just about. This is in El Tigre in Nueva Vallarta, which is near the golf course. And they rent out between $88 and $150 a night. They have very big pools. And the other one would be Roma Encore. You can see it's quite a high-rise building, and they're renting out for $100 a night. So it just depends, what your goal is. I always say if your goal is only for investment, then please let me make this suggestion for you. I have a client that purchased in January of this year, and he furnished his place, and he just wanted it for investment. He just likes to flip properties, and we're now on the market, and his place will sell very, very soon. And he has about a $90,000 gain on the property, and he only invested about 260. So I think that's a really great opportunity.
So Tonya, for non-residents, are they paying capital gains tax only in their own countries or in Mexico as well?
Okay, so here's how it works. It's, a little bit elaborated. So if you are, this is the reason why you want to be a resident. because when you're a resident, then you get a tax ID number. And like I said, the same lawyers that help us close are the ones that can make your residency for you. You don't need residency to buy, but it is definitely for your benefit to have it in closing, because you get to deduct about 700,000 UDIs, which is a type of currency here where things are measured in a way like a stock market. And that translates to about 230,000 American, more or less, depending on the day, of capital gains exemption. So if there's two people on the property, that can be, two people on the exemption also. So it's really, really worth it. So you want to get your tax ID number, and then you need to have either your electric bill or your phone bill, your landline bill, that has your tax ID number on it and the exact address that's in your deed. And actually, I'm right in the process of, taking care of making that change for another client. And with that, they're going to exempt complete. I mean, they're going to save about $135,000 by doing that simple process. So it's really worth it. And this is why it's so important to have somebody, take care of you here in the area that really knows, because the simplest thing of putting your tax ID number on an electric bill or not, I mean, that's $135,000. So here in Mexico, you can actually, anybody can sell real estate. You don't need any training at all. And there's no governing body about that. Hopefully this year that's going to change. I'm an AMPI agent, which means that I have to go through the AMPI rules. But for example, if the lady that, sells fruit on the side of the road decides tomorrow to sell real estate, they can do that. So it's important that you always be an AMPI agent. And what I've heard, the buzz around town is, as of 2023, you will need to have this certification. So hopefully that's true. I'm going to be taking that again. It's only good for 3 years, so I need to take it again on Monday. And because I mean, knowledge is power. And I think it's important to always be able to, give good information to people. I think it's very, very important. Now this place here, I just rented this out to another KW agent. And this is running for $750 a day in low season and $1,200 in high season. It's a 4-bedroom in Balongo in Punta Mita, Punta Mita has an area called Ranchos, which has very exclusive homes. And I mean, they can be ranged between 5 and, I don't know, maybe 20 million American. They actually had one home. What was the one that just sold? It was like the highest one that I've ever seen sold. It was somewhere around $50 million. So it's a very exclusive area. What's behind the gates of Punta Mita, but it's pretty special.
Tonya, you just mentioned AMPI. Can you tell us what that stands for?
Oh, sure. AMPI is the Asociación Mexicana, the Mexican Association for Real Estate Professionals. And that's also, it also gives us a membership to NAR. So anything that you see on our Flex MLS system is because it's a trained AMPI agent. Right now, I think we're about 565 agents that are through AMPI. And, we're held to a high standard, to ethics committee, to training and ongoing training at all times, which I think is a very good thing. I don't think that selling somebody's property, I don't take it lightly, either having somebody invest or to selling it, it's one of the biggest things in somebody's life. So I think it's very important that we know what we're doing, when we're guiding somebody. Another thing that with me is what's called a relocation specialist. And I always have a guy. Everybody always laughs. They're like, you always have a guy. Yes, I always have a guy. So whatever it is that you need, when you're in the area, somebody will say, oh, well, I need this, but I'm bringing a car and I need the tags. I'm like, okay, we'll talk to Pat. Or I have a client right now. Oh, I want to repaint everything. And I don't want somebody that speaks Spanish because I don't speak any Spanish. I need somebody that speaks English and that can understand me with all these things. I'm like, okay, let's talk to Rudy. So there's always somebody that can take care.
I got a guy for that.
Yes. So I always say I always have a guy, and my phone is always available. It's not like, oh, the sale is over and that's it. I'm always available for my clients. They all have my direct. Here in Mexico, we use the WhatsApp. I know that other places it's not so popular, but everybody in Mexico uses the WhatsApp app. Even if you're making an appointment with a doctor or a dentist or a taxi or a restaurant reservation, it's almost always through even school. I get my daughter's report card from school through WhatsApp. So
Wow.
it's if you're going to come here, it's definitely something to download. But I'm always available for, anybody that needs something. Absolutely.
Sorry. My thing's dying. Sorry, I'm back.
So there we go. Let me pull this up here. So does anybody have any questions for me?
I have one more before anybody else jumps in. As far as Airbnb goes, so when you're talking
Yes.
about these rentals,
Yes.
Tonya, are these through property management? Are you renting them yourself? Is it Airbnb? How does it actually work?
Okay, well, all of the above, yes. So there are property managers that you can hire, and they will absolutely do everything from A to Z. I mean, if your light bulb needs to be changed, when the new people are checking in, they'll make sure that the place is clean. They'll open the door, they'll check them in. 'Cause there's a lot of different things, like who's going to put the toilet paper? Who's going to, if I don't know, the frying pan broke, who's going to replace that? So that's what a property manager would do. They would take care of basically everything. Who's going to pay the electric bill? So there are property managers that'll take care of like completely everything, or you can just say, I'm going to arrive in a week and I want my place cleaned. So you choose the level of involvement that you want. I have people that'll say, I'm going to arrive and I want somebody to do my grocery shopping for me. I get there, I want to have, milk and bread and coffee and, all of these things. So whatever it is that you need, there is that option. Now, the property managers have their own pages. There are people that have been, dedicating to property management for a very long time and have a list of clients that are very, very long. Puerto Vallarta is a place that once you come, you always seem to come back to. So I do think it's a very good thing to have a property manager. It really just makes life easy. And I have several of them, depending on which area people invest in. I always say go with the one that's local because, our bay is pretty big. I mean, it can take 2 hours to get from one side to the other. So you really want to choose a property manager that's in the area and is focused in the area that you're investing in. Now, also on Airbnb, that's also a very big, a lot of people do rentals through Airbnb, a lot. So, they just want to, put the property up there. And I think this is something that is the same everywhere. It depends on the photos that you're using. Make sure that you do have really good photos. It really is a good investment and people have to love it online. I mean, I've seen photos that I say, oh goodness. So people say, when will my place rent? How many days will it rent? And I would say it really depends on the level of quality that you've put in. I mean, if you do great photos, if you do something that I think is really important here, that people want to live in a place or they want a vacation in a place that feels like they're in Mexico. So, like the white spread with the, the bed runner and the embroidered pillow with a pop of color on it, show up really beautiful on the Airbnb website, or people are renting through the Facebook groups. Like there's groups that are everything you want to know about Puerto Vallarta. And I mean, you put something up on there. I put something up on there yesterday for my client. Like I said, that she wasn't very tech savvy, and I have like 12 inquiries. So I'm just going through this and figuring how to, just give her the people that want to rent, she wants it simple. So we're going to go with January, February, March, just by the calendar month. And, but rentals are in super high demand here. We don't have a lot of inventory for sale because people don't really want to sell the properties because the rentals are so good.
Right.
They have it rented, 80% of the year. They're saying, why am I going to sell it? Because it's paying for itself. So this is another thing I do every morning. The first thing that I do is check the hot sheet and, go through my list of clients if I know what they're looking for. And another thing is I've been here for, 34 years. So a lot of times we have our WhatsApp chat through agents and agencies. And a lot of times I'll get properties before they ever come, onto market. So I'll be calling a client, say, I know you were looking for this in this building and it's on the market. It's going to come out in 3 days. Should I go and film it for you? And then I'll go over there right then and literally make a video, but I'll also do a live video at that time. So they can say, okay, open the dishwasher or, open the cabinet doors, and we'll look at exactly what's coming in each condo or home. And most of the places here are sold with everything. So when you see a price, it usually, we're talking down to forks and knives and sheets and the coffee maker and, all of that is included. It's not just the condo. When it says furnished, it almost always, not always, but a lot of times it means
Everything.
turnkey.
That's very cool.
Mhm.
Very, very cool. Well, I would say just based on what you've told us, whether you're renting or buying, they should just come to you and say, this is what I want. Tonya, please help me.
Yes, absolutely. And I get a lot of that, but I also get people that say, I specifically want, and I always ask them, like, what is your intention for this property? If your intention is you want to have your place and also want to rent out, well, let's look for the place that is your favorite. And then from there, I'll say, there's this one, but I think this one could get you a little bit more. This one is, more attractive to other people because of this reason. But if you say my intention is to have an Airbnb, a moneymaker, and I want to use it when it's not, we have to find out exactly what the client wants to know how to give them the best suggestion. Because at the end of the day, I think the most important is that people complete their goals. And I'm never an agent to try to push them to the next, price point. I always send them two things. If I feel like what they want to spend is not realistic for what they want to get, I will let them know. I'll send them 2 separate emails and I'll say, this is what you're asking me for in this email. And this is the price point, but this is your budget and this is what you can get. And I always say, I don't think that people should invest in Mexico out of their comfort zone, because I think the point of coming to Mexico and having your property in Mexico is to enjoy, to be a little carefree, and to relax and have a good quality of life. And if you're stressed about making those payments, I don't want to do that to anybody.
Vacations shouldn't be stressful, for sure.
Exactly. That's right.
Was there any more slides that you wanted to share with us, Tonya? I think just
Are
the
we
contact
on
info.
Agents? Are there clients on the call or just agents?
We have a combination of clients and agents.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, I won't share the last one because that's my direct contact, and everybody that's on this call, please contact your agent and Irene here, and they can help you get in touch with me, and we can work it that way.
Yeah, fantastic. Any questions? Anything we haven't covered that you guys want to know about? No, we covered absolutely everything. That's how thorough the presentation was, Tonya. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. I will put my contact information in the chat for anybody that's here or anybody watching the recording. If there's anything else that I can do for you in connecting you with Tonya, and keep in mind, just as in all of our Keller Williams culture, if we are not the right person for you, if Tonya, if you're looking for something that's not in Tonya's area, she will recommend the best local expert to you so that they can take care of you.
That's right. Absolutely. If you need a referral anywhere in the country, just ask Irene to get in touch with me, because I do have contacts all over, whether it be Cancun or Cozumel or Cabo or, wherever. If Irene doesn't have that contact direct, I'll be glad to give that to her. Sure. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Daphne, did you want to have a question answered?
No, that's fine. I had one and it skipped my mind. So I'm sure I can write one of you
Yeah,
a note if it comes.
absolutely. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being with us. And we hope that you find some happiness in Mexico sometime soon.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Tonya. That was
Thank you,
great.
Irene.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Hey, Tonya, hang on there just a second before you
Sure.
before you jump off.